The most challenging part of developing Traveler's Refrain for me was definitely the sheer amount of animations that needed to be made. I did like thousands of frames of animation, and I had to make sure that they all looked cool.
The most challenging part of Traveler's Refrain is definitely getting everything to work together in one cohesive unit, especially all the enemies and the abilities was definitely really tricky from a programming standpoint, because there's a lot of different systems and they all need to work together. For example, the AI system, we basically made a lot of mistakes and we had to learn by redoing the whole system and making it a better one. So that was a big challenge.
The hardest part about game development for me was definitely designing and creating things that I've never made before, and also keeping those things stylistically consistent with the art direction of the project. Because when you join as an artist on a project, you want to keep everything stylistically cohesive, and you want to find a good marriage between the way that you naturally paint and the style that is needed.
The hardest part of development for me was coming up with the best way to represent our song spells in the UI. I wanted them to be really aesthetically beautiful and represent the unique personality of each spell, but also be super readable and attractive for the player.
Well, the hardest part of the game development for me was resolving the audio bugs, because I'm the solo audio person on this project, being sound designer, composer, and technical sound designer all in one. And there were times that I forgot that I made some systems already and ended up with making the new systems for the playback, which didn't quite align with the game itself, and we ended up with some bugs. After resolving those bugs, we for sure spent some time for that, and I ended up with my internal embarrassment.
For me, the funnest part of development was working on environment design for our various levels. I got to work on a lot of pieces from scratch and help shape the game world to give it life and allow the story to come through in the visuals. And that was really, really fun. I think the entire team had a wonderful shared vision that comes through really well.
My favorite part of game development would definitely have to be just seeing everything you made assembled in the game engine and being able to see everything in context. And also just painting anything having to do with foliage, wood textures, rocks, just any natural material. I personally really enjoy the rendering phase of the process compared to the designing phase of the process.
The most fun part on the other side was the testing and tweaking the fighting sounds, that is sound effects for the fighting scenes. And so when you reach the synergy of game mechanics, audio and video elements, you're not testing the game, you're playing the game, and at that point it's quite rewarding, because you reach the point that the game is fun to you and you want to share it with the other people.
So the most fun part about making Traveler's Refrain was definitely coming up with the enemy ideas, the spell ideas. I'm the one who comes up with all the wacky names for everything. There's a lot of cool stuff in terms of naming things and making sure everything kind of works together and it's fun to play in the game. So that aspect of the design was definitely my favorite, as well as crafting the dungeons with Nick. So those are definitely my favorite.
The most fun and rewarding parts of developing Traveler's Refrain for me is definitely designing the characters, because I'm a character designer by nature, and putting together the story. The story was quite the challenge, but it also was really rewarding because it was kind of like putting a puzzle together. We had to make sure that all of the elements, all of the pieces fit together and it all made sense. We didn't want any plot holes in the story, even though there's a lot of plot twists in the story. And then lastly, the thing I really loved doing was working on the dungeons, the dungeon design with Armand, because that's another big puzzle challenge that once we got to play through it was really fun and exciting to actually play.
What do you think? Should people go Wishlist? Are they going to play Traveler's Refrain? What do you think?